This is the story of Prince Andrew, or as he's now known, just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and how one of the most privileged people on the planet managed to fall so far that his own staff would rather quit than work for him. This isn't just royal drama. This is a masterclass in how consequences actually work, even when you're born into wealth and power. And honestly, there's something deeply human about watching someone face the reality that money and titles can't buy you respect. For 22 years, Andrew lived at Royal Lodge in Windsor. This place isn't just a house. It's a 30-room mansion. We're talking ballrooms, staff quarters, manicured gardens, the whole aristocratic fantasy. He paid basically nothing to live there. Protected, comfortable, insulated from the real world. But here's the thing about consequences. They might move slowly when you're royalty, but they always catch up. Andrew has been connected to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender, for years. He settled a civil lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre in 2022 for an undisclosed amount without admitting liability. The royal family has had enough. King Charles, Andrew's own brother, has been trying to get him out of Royal Lodge for a while now. And after the latest batch of files dropped, it was made clear to Andrew. Think about that image. A former prince sneaking out of his home like he's dodging the paparazzi because the situation is so humiliating. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Andrew's been moved to Sandringham, the royal family's estate in Norfolk. He's temporarily staying at a place called Wood Farm while his permanent home, Marsh Farm, is being renovated. And here's the kicker. Staff at Sandringham have been told they don't have to serve Andrew or work for him if they feel uncomfortable. The staff, the people whose literal job it is to serve the royals, have been given permission by management to just say no, to refuse to work for him. Can you imagine being in that position? Where you've behaved so poorly, where your reputation is so damaged, that the people who need their jobs are willing to risk their employment rather than be around you. One source described a lot of disquiet among staff because Andrew is now a total pariah. A pariah. Those aren't my words. That's what people who work in the royal household are saying. And you know what? Good for those staff members. Because here's a truth we don't talk about enough. You don't owe your labor to someone who makes you uncomfortable, regardless of how much power they have. These people are exercising agency. They're saying, I have boundaries, and I'm not crossing them for a paycheck. That takes courage, especially in a system like the British royal household, where hierarchy and tradition are everything. There's a biography of Andrew that came out last year, and it paints a picture of someone who was obsessed with being served. According to the book, Andrew would demand that staff bow to him whenever he entered a room, and if they didn't, he'd leave and re-enter so they could try again. He allegedly had one aide removed because he didn't like a mole on the person's face. Another staff member was. And then there's the teddy bear thing. A former maid revealed that Andrew was extremely particular about how his stuffed animals were arranged, and she received a full day of training just to learn how to line them up properly. So let me get this straight. This is a grown man who demanded military precision in the arrangement of his cuddly toys, who insisted people bow to him, who fired people over minor physical features. And now? Now he can't get anyone to work for him at all. The universe has a sense of humor, doesn't it? But here's what I really want to talk about, because this goes beyond just one entitled former royal. This story is about accountability. For so long, people like Andrew have operated in a bubble where consequences don't really apply, where you can behave however you want because your birth, your title, your wealth protects you. And to be clear, Andrew still has protections most people don't. He's been moved to a new home where renovations are underway, including the installation of security fences and CCTV. But something has shifted. The palace staff refusing to serve him? That's not about money or protocol. That's about basic human dignity. Those employees are saying, I don't care what title you used to have. I don't feel safe or comfortable around you, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. And the royal family allowing them to make that choice? That's significant. It's an acknowledgement that Andrew's behavior, his associations, his past, have real consequences. This is what accountability looks like when it finally catches up to power. You might be thinking, well, he settled that lawsuit. He's never been criminally charged with anything. And you'd be right. Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing. But here's the thing about reputation and trust. They're not determined by legal verdicts alone. They're determined by patterns of behavior, by associations, by how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. And right now, the people who've worked closest to Andrew, the ones who've seen him behind closed doors, are walking away. So why does this matter to you? Why should you care about some disgraced royal staffing problems? Because this story is a reminder that everyone is accountable, eventually. It doesn't matter if you're born into one of the most famous families on earth. It doesn't matter if you have wealth or titles or connections. If you treat people poorly, if you abuse your position, if you surround yourself with the wrong people and make bad choices, it catches up with you. And I find that genuinely motivating. Think about it in your own life. How many times have you dealt with a boss who was awful? A colleague who was toxic? Someone in a position of power who seemed untouchable? This story is proof that no one is truly untouchable. And you know what? That's a lesson for all of us. Build bridges. Treat people with respect. Understand that the way you make people feel matters just as much, maybe more, than your position or your accomplishments. Because one day, you might need those people. And if you've spent years making them feel small, uncomfortable, or unvalued, well, they might just exercise their right to say no thanks. Here's where I'll get a bit vulnerable with you. I think a lot of us have experienced being in situations where we felt we had to serve someone, metaphorically or literally, even when it made us deeply uncomfortable. Maybe it was a job we needed. Maybe it was a family obligation. Maybe it was social pressure. And we stayed. We gritted our teeth. We told ourselves it was fine. But watching these Sandringham staff members get permission to set boundaries, watching them actually use that permission, that's powerful. It's a reminder that you're allowed to protect your peace. You're allowed to say, this doesn't feel right, and I'm not doing it. Even, especially, when the person asking is someone with power over you. Now, I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow or blow up your life. Boundaries are complex, and everyone's situation is different. But there's something liberating about seeing people stand up for themselves, even in small ways. Even when it's risky. Think about what that reveals. These employees aren't just worried about serving him now. They're worried about being stuck with him long term. That's how deep the discomfort runs. Look, I don't know what's going to happen to Andrew next. Maybe the renovations finish at Marsh Farm and he moves there quietly. Maybe more information comes out. Maybe he eventually fades into complete obscurity. What I do know is this. Watching someone who once had everything slowly lose it all because of their own choices. That's a story as old as time. It's a Greek tragedy playing out in the British countryside. And the staff rebellion. These everyday people refusing to compromise their comfort for someone who probably never gave them a second thought? That's the most hopeful part of the whole story. It means the system isn't completely broken. It means people still have agency, even in the most hierarchical, traditional institutions. It means that respect isn't automatic. It has to be earned, and it can be lost. So here's my challenge to you. Think about how you're treating the people around you. Not the people who can do something for you. Not the people you need to impress. The people you might be tempted to take for granted. Your coworkers. The barista who makes your coffee. The person who cleans your office. Your assistant. Your employees, if you have them. Because here's the truth. You might be able to demand service, but you can't demand respect. You can't demand loyalty. You can't demand that people feel comfortable around you. Those things. You have to earn them. And if you don't, well, one day you might find yourself in a cottage in Norfolk with a list of staff members who'd rather find another job than work for you. If this story got you thinking, or if you just enjoyed watching karma do its thing, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into royal drama, celebrity culture, and the fascinating psychology behind how people in power rise and fall. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think the staff are right to refuse to work for Andrew? Or should they separate personal feelings from professional duty? I genuinely want to know what you think. Until next time, remember, titles fade, but how you treat people, that's forever.